This episode is going to help you finally release a trauma bond before the end of 2026 so that he doesn't pull you back during the holidays and become yet another intention for 2027. Hey, and welcome back. So it is the middle of summer. We are in August. And have you found yourself dreading the holidays? I know you know how this goes. If you have left a narcissistic cycle and you've been pulled back in several times, the season shifts or a period of time goes by and the loneliness starts to creep in. Your ex reaches out and everything that you promised yourself quietly unravels. If this has been happening for a while, I wonder if you had actually made an intention in January to release this trauma bond, to finally let him go. And here we are in August, and you still haven't walked away. Not fully. And now what's looming is the holidays are right around the corner. And the anxiety around what are November and December going to bring when you're a little bit more tender, a little bit more susceptible to wanting to be with somebody. So I know there's part of you that has wondered, is something wrong with me? Am I broken? Why can't I give this man up? And we're going to talk about it today, but I want you to know right now that you're not broken and there's nothing wrong with you. What's happening inside of you has nothing to do with weakness and everything to do with biology. So here's what you're going to walk away with after listening today. You're going to understand why your brain has literally wired this person into your survival, and there's no amount of logic or willpower that can override a trauma bond. The second thing you'll walk away with is a clear understanding of the chemical sequence that happens inside of your body as a result of the trauma bond that turns, I know he's bad for me, into, I need to reach out to him now. And the third thing is you're going to understand what you need to untether from a trauma bond safely. Because I don't want the holidays to be the reason that you are back at square one again and setting another New Year's intention for 2027 to let go of this person. I don't want you to spend any more months in this painful limbo space of knowing that you shouldn't be with him, but not being able to stop going back. So we're going to talk about it today. And be sure to stick around to the very end where I'm going to pull an oracle card. This will offer you a message that you can use this week to stay more conscious in your healing. Okay, so let's take a deep breath and begin. When I first broke up with my ex, I was certain that that was the end, that I had seen the light, I had seen the manipulation, I was aware of cheating and betrayal that was happening in the relationship. I was like, this is too broken to fix. This is beyond repair. And so we broke up and he moved out and we took some space, and really what was so inflamed had time to settle. And then he came back saying all the right things, saying, please, let me just tell you what I've realized in the last, I think it was a couple of months. Let me help you understand why I'm so sorry, why I was acting the way I was. It was all the right verbiage. And me, who had been wanting him to come back and take accountability for so many years, got sucked right back in. I got sucked right back into the thing that I swore that I wasn't going to go back to. What happened for me in that moment was feeling like a failure, really feeling like, what is wrong with me? I promised, and I was so sure that that was going to be the end. And here I am right back in it, because after we got back together, there was a couple of weeks where it felt good, and then it went downhill even harder than the first time. And so I was really upset with myself. I was really believing that I was weak and that I was critical and I was judging, and I couldn't get this spiral out of my head that was happening. And if you have been in that experience where you've gone back and you swore you wouldn't, you probably have felt this too. Because what you're experiencing and what I experienced is you're saying one thing, and these parts of you that want to trust what you're saying, they want to trust that you're going to keep them safe this time, they see you break that promise to yourself and to them and go back. And we're going to talk about why that happens. As I explain this, it's not coming from a place of pure logic and choice. There's a biological component here which drives us back to narcissistic people. drives us back to the trauma bond. But what your parts feel and what you feel is, I can't trust that I'm going to follow through with what I say I'm going to do. And the more times that that happens, the less trust you have in yourself, right? It's sort of like any relationship with anybody else. If they kept breaking promises to you, you would eventually stop trusting them. What's hard here is that you're already working with a low sense of self-trust because likely in the relationship, in the trauma bond, you have really lost a lot of your confidence and a lot of your trust in yourself and a lot of your ability to trust your decisions. So you're already like on wobbly ground. And then to feel the failure, in my case, is what I felt of like, I said I wasn't, and then I did. It was just like, oh, there's no way I'm actually going to be able to do this. Like it really put my self-confidence and my self-trust into the negative zone. And what often accompanies this low level of self-confidence and self-trust is not only the feeling of failure, but also this feeling of being out of control of yourself. So you're making these decisions when one part of you knows you shouldn't, the other part of you is really driving you back into the arms of that person. And when you're in that separation period, there can be a lot of panic. There can be a lot of fear of, I don't want to be alone. I don't want to be without this person. Maybe I made the wrong decision. You can feel empty and frantic and frankly untethered because in a trauma bond, you have really bonded or tethered to this person for your safety. And we're going to talk more about that in just a second. But so when you're absent of that person, when he or she is not there, that leaves you feeling kind of like you're floating in this unpredictable, uncomfortable, unfamiliar space where all of your fears come to the surface. And there's an urge. There's an urge that happens to make it stop, to make this discomfort go away. And what you have learned through the trauma bond is that eventually he comes back and relieves that discomfort. Eventually you reconnect. Eventually there's the apology. There's the getting back together. The break never lasts forever, right? You've learned that through repetition. And so there's a part of you that is looking for that in order for the pain to stop. And this is why it can feel like a compulsion almost of being so sure of I'm never going back, and then flipping a switch and being like, I have to reach out to him now. I have to look at his Instagram now. I have to. And you're almost making these decisions outside of the cognitive control that you want to feel in your body. So you've got this feeling of being out of control. You've got the feelings of feeling like a failure. And likely what you're thinking is that something is wrong with you, right? You are just not smart enough. You just don't have enough willpower. You're a sucker. You're gullible. Those are words that I thought about myself too. There's something wrong with you that can't stop you from going back to him. So you're blaming yourself. You're blaming yourself and you're feeling all of the self-criticism. So I'm going to explain something that's going to blow your mind, because if you haven't heard a trauma bond explained this way, it's easier to just blame yourself. It's easier to think that it's all your fault, that you should be strong enough, which is also likely the narrative that you've had in the relationship. Does that feel familiar? Of feeling like everything is your fault and that you should be strong enough to fix it? You've practiced that. You've practiced that narrative in the trauma bond itself. So it makes sense that you would go there to try to make what's happening, this really confusing situation, you're trying to make it make sense. And one of the easiest ways to do that is to be self-critical, because if it's my fault, then maybe I can fix it. Let me explain to you why it's not your fault, but how you can still get out of a trauma bond. So a trauma bond is not a willpower problem. This is not you not knowing enough. You have the pros and cons lists. You have done the research around narcissists. You understand cognitively what's happening. What's happening in a trauma bond, when there's a separation, when you have taken a break, when you break up, when there is an emotional detachment of some kind, is your body is in withdrawal from the person. So let me explain what happens to create such intense feelings of withdrawal. When you're in the narcissistic cycle, you go through periods that are very specific. You go through a love bombing period, you go through a devaluing period, a discarding period, and then a hoovering period. So think of it very simply as like things are fucking awesome. They start to feel confusing. They start to feel painful. I let go, or he lets go, and then he hoovers back just like a vacuum and sucks you back up, back into the cycle where it's awesome. Then it starts to feel confusing. Then it starts to feel painful. Then you let go. Then there's the hoovering. The more that you repeat that cycle, the more of a dependence you have on him to come back for the hoovering period and take away the pain that you're feeling. Because when you go through that cycle, what you're feeling is stress, fear, rejection, and then relief. And you never know when the relief is coming. So this is another piece of what makes this so addictive is it's called intermittent reinforcement. Just like gambling, you never know when the prize is going to come. So you keep playing. Just like social media, you never know when the likes are going to come. So you keep posting or you keep trying to change the algorithm. It's the unknown that keeps us in the seeking of the thing that we want. Let me break this down even further so you can really understand biochemically what's happening. We'll start with the love bombing phase. When you are in that euphoria period, you are being flooded with dopamine and oxytocin. There is a closeness, and this closeness validates your lovability, how desirable you are, how worthy you are, right? It's like, oh, he's back. He's saying the right thing. He wants me. He's choosing me. We're okay. There's that exhale that happens because of the closeness. And then you move into the devaluing phase, which is where things start to feel confusing. It goes from feeling really good to, oh, that statement felt a little strange, or, oh, now he's getting upset because I'm going out with my friends, right? There's things that happen that start to have you question, I didn't know he was like this, or I didn't know he thought this. What happens in that period is cortisol starts pumping. You start getting really stressed. And when we're stressed, our body is preparing for something. So it's like there's some sort of unpredictability. There's some sort of potential threat that's happening. Let's just amp the body up a bit so that we're prepared to do what we need to do to get away from the threat. So that can keep you hyper-focused on his behavior, on his mood, on how you're interacting with him. That keeps you walking on eggshells. That keeps you in this just like, I can't quite relax state. Something feels like it might not be okay if I fully let my guard down. Then you move into the devaluing phase, which is where it really starts to turn ugly, where his real behavior really starts to come out. Really hurtful things are said or done. More of the abuse happens, and you start to feel a lot of fear. So when we feel fear, then adrenaline starts pumping because that's going to help us mobilize to get away from the threat. So this doesn't have to be a physical threat. We register emotional threat and physical threat, spiritual threat, financial threat. There can be a lot of different types of threat. And depending on the type of narcissist, they exert their threats in different ways. But at the baseline, you're feeling this adrenaline. You've got the cortisol that's keeping your eyes open, and you've got the adrenaline that's pumping that's got you like really primed to be able to do whatever you need to do to get away from that threat. So it's a really heightened experience. It's a very active experience in the body. You're not living in a peaceful calm. This is like, I'm up, I'm ready to go. Then things get so bad, so painful, so ugly that there's a separation. You let go, he lets go. Something happens where you guys are taking a break or breaking up. And that is the absence of the person. So this is what we were talking about in the beginning, where you start to feel those withdrawal symptoms. Because closeness has become equal to you being okay, when you're apart, you don't feel okay. Even though the relationship was so painful that you had to get the point of, I can't fucking do this. Even though that is so much pain, your body has registered the person who's causing the pain as the person who can take it away. And this pain, this withdrawal, when you don't have the access to the person who can take away your pain, you will feel pain that is as intense as physical pain. right? Withdrawal is really, really, really uncomfortable. It is excruciating. And you'll be in that for a period of time, and you'll try to white knuckle it. You'll try to willpower yourself away from it, but your body is driving you towards the thing that's going to give you the dopamine and the oxytocin and that lift again, that sense of okayness. The body is really smart. The body wants to feel good. It knows it's recognizing the pattern of, I know how to bring this relief. I know when he comes back that I get to stop feeling like I'm drowning, that I get to come up for air. So your system is really like, safety. When you guys reunite, there's a sense of safety, there's a sense of okayness, there's a sense of lovability. It's really playing into a lot of parts of you that also feel like they're in a lot of fear when you're in that withdrawal place too, of, will I be alone forever? Did I make a terrible mistake? Right? If you're back together, you don't have to worry about all of that. Those parts quiet down. You get this rush of euphoria, which is why the love bombing stage feels so damn good. It's not just the pretty gifts or the notes or the flowers or the trips or whatever way the love bombing looks. It's not just receiving those things. It's what it validates for you as a person because you're receiving those things. I am safe, I'm worthy, I'm loved, I'm wanted, I'm chosen. So you keep driving towards this person that's going to take away your pain. That is a form of survival. And we confuse that with love. We think because I feel so yummy when we come back together that this is love, that love is washing over me. When really it's just a sense of, oh my God, I can finally relax for the first time in several weeks or several months. We confuse that. Our wires get really crossed. So this back and forth in the narcissistic cycle creates confusion. It creates a sense of craving, a sense of need and dependency on that person to take away your pain during the withdrawal. And it keeps you really stuck in the hope of wanting the good version of them to come, right? Because it feels good when you're in the good period of time. And to keep yourself seeking that, having hope about the person or the relationship, it plays into it. It's really helpful to keep you seeking. So it keeps you in that hope. It keeps you in this addiction to the highs when you're in the low. This is so similar to somebody who is seeking drugs or alcohol. If you think about why a person is seeking drugs and alcohol, we know now after a lot of research around addiction that people who struggle with addiction are trying to get away from the pain that they're feeling because of trauma. They're not choosing the addiction because it's fun. Maybe it started as a fun thing, and then it became very connected and very associated with, when I do this drug or alcohol, my pain goes away. When you don't have access to the drug or alcohol, what happens? The person who is addicted to the drug or alcohol panics. They go into a seeking behavior. They do a lot of crazy shit to get the drug or alcohol. It's the same thing. It's the same thing. He is your drug. He is your drug. And when you don't have him, you panic because he takes your pain away. To really paint a picture of how impactful and how painful this trauma bond is, I want you to think back to January. If you set an intention, think back to the intention, or just think back to the beginning of this year when you really came to that awareness of, I need to leave. And now knowing that we're 8 months into the year, there's been 8 months where you've been spiraling in this cycle. And I want you to think about, what have you missed out on because you were back with him and couldn't bring him around your family or friends? Like what activities, what celebrations have you missed out on? How many of your needs have you silenced when things started to decline in the cycle, where you started to recognize that you couldn't actually have preferences or opinions? How much have you sacrificed? How many of your needs have you given up? And how many hours over just the last 8 months have you spent researching trauma bonds, listening to podcasts about narcissism or trauma bonds, and being in that self-critical voice of, I fucked up again. I went back again. I failed again. How many hours of your life have you spent doing that? And how many nights of sleep have you missed? Either because you felt uncomfortable sleeping next to a person when that abusive behavior was starting to happen, or you were in the withdrawal period and you were feeling so much excruciating pain that it was keeping you up at night. And now I want you to think about the holidays are just around the corner, right? We have a couple of months until holiday season starts. What are the holidays going to look like this year if he circles back around? What is going to happen or not happen if you get back together during the holidays? If nothing changes by December 31st of 2026, where are you going to be on New Year's morning? Mentally, physically? To reiterate what I said earlier, and why we tend to self-blame and self-criticize is because we think that we can change it. And what I want to really make clear is you can change a trauma bond, just not in the way that you're doing. So you're not going to get out of a trauma bond by willpowering your way through it, by thinking your way through it. Again, think about somebody who's addicted to drugs and alcohol. You're like, just stop thinking about the alcohol. Just stop thinking about the discomfort you're in. Just lock yourself in a room. That's not sustainable. You have to replace the thing that has been taking away the pain. And you have to regulate the nervous system to be able to withstand the discomfort that's going to come up when your drug or alcohol or when your person is not there. So my program and the way that I work with my clients is really centered around giving you the tools that you need to untether safely, replacing him with new ways to find safety and regulation. Not only does the nervous system work help you withstand the periods of discomfort, but it helps you be able to utilize your emotional brain and your rational brain to start to understand what has happened. Start to understand the parts of you that hold on, the parts of you that want to leave. It helps you to be able to metabolize the feelings that you have likely shoved away because it hasn't been safe to acknowledge the trauma that you've been through in this relationship. And it gives you so much clarity around yourself, how to tend to yourself, why things were happening in the way that they happened, so that you can begin to shift the things that need to shift so that you don't repeat this with this person and you don't repeat this in another relationship. I can promise you that if you start the work now, my program is 4 months long. So if you start the work now, you are going to be held in a way that you have probably never experienced. And to be held that way specifically through the holidays, to be given the right tools, the right resources, the right steps to take to truly understand what's happening, let go, grieve, process, heal, and come out as a stronger, more embodied version of yourself, that is so invaluable. I really don't want the panic and the craving and the loneliness to pull you back. I don't want January 1st to come around and for you to be spending New Year's Day criticizing yourself or in a low. I don't want him to be in your journal as a list of intentions in 2027. So when you are willing to shift the focus and have the right support to really build the safety inside of yourself so that you can feel supported and confident and safe in not going back, I am here. I always offer a free intro session. That is a time for us to connect via Zoom. I get to understand exactly where you are. And if that aligns with the way that I support clients, I will share about my program Becoming and how that can help you. The link to the intro session is in the show notes. It is completely free. And I empower you, I invite you to take advantage of that resource, to give yourself the gift of being supported through an extra challenging time of the year so that you don't repeat this pattern. So you can finally do what you promised yourself that you would do. The link to the intro session is in the show notes. Okay, so let's pull an oracle card. I have a new deck today that I want to use. It is called the Rose Oracle by Rebecca Campbell. One just came flying out. I'm really new to this deck, so I'm excited. The sun is the message that came out for today. Let me find the sun in the book and I will read to you what it says. In the summer, when the sun is at its highest path in the sky, the rose is at its fullest. Her fragrance is sweet and the fruit is still to come. In this oracle, the sun represents life force energy, vitality, confidence, success, positivity, delight, and the sheer joy of life. After it's left the fertile darkness of the soil, the future rose begins reaching towards the light of the sun, which then plays its part in nourishing the rose as it reaches for its potential bloom. And it does this for us too. One of life's greatest blessings is to feel the warmth of the sun on our face, to drink in the gold nectar of what life has for us, and to take a moment to bask in being alive. This is your invitation, to relish your aliveness, to embrace your joyfulness, to enjoy the simple things in life, to make time for play, to be grateful for your body, to acknowledge the wondrous life force energy that's woven through all of life, to remember that your soul had a dream and that your life is it. This is a wondrous card that heralds a time of playful enjoyment and bliss. The sun can also represent the inner child and be an invitation to have fun. Have you been all work and no play? Is your inner child longing to run free? What can you do to enjoy the simple things in life? When we allow ourselves a space to play, problems that were once unsolvable find solutions. The soul inquiry is, how can you enjoy your life more? What can you do just for fun? Ooh, I love this because fun and a sense of playfulness and joyfulness is always absent in a trauma bond. You're living more in a state of survival than in thriving, and play is something that is missing. And so to be able to detach and do this work so that you can feel that sunshine on your face again is going to feel like a rebirth. To feel joy again after having been in such panic and fear and anxiety and stress and exhaustion is life-changing. So until I see you in that intro session or I see you in the next episode, please remember that you are not alone.